Welcome to San Joaquin Spotlight, a public affairs program featuring conversations about life in the central San Joaquin Valley. This program is brought to you in partnership between KFSR 90.7 FM and CMAC Fresno. I'm your host, Sevag Tateosian. Today, we are going to talk about the Tower District in Fresno with Bill Kuebler. Bill, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me, Sevag.
The Tower District. A lot of people talk about it. Everybody knows about it. How do you describe where it is?
Well, we're we're Fresno's urban core, very much closely aligned with downtown Fresno. In most major metropolitan areas, you have a big booming downtown, and as our downtown is slowly beginning to develop, the tower kind of fills many of the gaps that downtown doesn't fill right now. So when you ask most people, and especially northern Fresno, where the tower is, oh, downtown, you know, we're kind of all downtown.
So I'm gonna play instigator here early on in the interview.
Oh, dear, here we go.
I'm gonna get you all fired up and tell you, with all the new establishments and all the beautiful buildings and all that stuff going up in a certain part of town, who cares about the Tower District?
You know, there are strip malls and shopping centers everywhere in the nation. I used to travel nationally, internationally for previous jobs, and when I would go and visit a new area, I would say, all right, take me and show me your town. And they'd take me to the strip mall or the shopping center. It's like, no, I have all those chain restaurants and chain stores in my town. That doesn't tell me what your town is like. Take me to the place where there are independent businesses owned and operated, something that's going to give me a flavor of what your locals really are all about. And that's what the Tower District is for Fresno.
Describe the Tower District. I mean, restaurants, bars.
Eclectic, funky, bohemian.
Safe? I mean, one of the things that we hear all the time is, you know, and I hear this all the time, by the way, for the record, I live south of Shaw, but they always say, oh, south of Shaw is a dangerous place. We're going to get shot south of Shaw. Talk about where the Tower District is and is it safe?
Well, and it's funny because the tower is actually one of the safest areas in the entire city of Fresno. And the police statistics will weigh that out. And the police themselves will tell you, you know, the tower people actually care. When we get folks who move from other parts of Fresno into the tower, they're like, my gosh, people actually, I walk down the street and people say hi, complete strangers.
You mean they didn't get mugged or beat up or anything?
And they feel completely safe. It's eyes on the street. And it's interesting because a lot of it is how the Tower District is built and developed. Our houses and our front porches are in front. Our garages are way in the back. I don't know, have you heard the phrase snout house before?
I have.
Okay, so all newer homes, the trend for a very long time was to build the garage out in front of the house, and it sticks out like a snout on a pig, which is why they call it a snout house. Well, when you drive down a neighborhood like that, all you see is garage doors, so there's really no human presence. You know, it's gotten to the point where we actually started building our houses for our cars. But in the tower, again, it's still old school. The cars are in the back, the people sit on the front porch, so people are always watching, and it makes it a much safer area.
You know, I've visited the Tower District for years, and I worked for a city councilman that represented the Tower District, and I never really thought of it that way. You're right. All the porches and all the doors are in the front, and the garage is on the back.
And the commercial structures are the same way. You see the commercial buildings that are right up along the sidewalk, and the parking lots are in back. Again, cars belong in the back, parking lots belong in the back. The Tower District is built on a human scale. And because of that, it is a much safer area because there are always eyes on the street. People sitting in the restaurants or on their front porches watching folks walk by, and vice versa. So there are always eyes on the street. And I hadn't recognized it either until I had some really good planning people point it out to me. It's like, wow, that makes a lot of sense.
We're going to show a picture of the Tower District in a little bit, but before we get there, Tower District, you hear that it's only for young people.
No.
Answer that question.
Well, look at me.
You're a young guy.
You know, it's one of the great things about the tower. It's diverse. It's all walks of life, gay and straight, male and female, young and old, high class, nicely dressed, very casual. Everything fits very well in the neighborhood, and everyone is very accepting of everyone else.
So let's take a look at this picture now
Okay.
of the Tower District. What's going on here?
That one happens to be our Father's Day Blues Festival that we do on the lawn at the St. Therese Church.
Where is the St. Therese Church, by the way?
It's a little bit more on the outside edge of the commercial district, so it's a couple blocks north of the Tower Theater.
And you said something earlier that I want to talk about more. So the Tower District, you can get someone in a suit that works as a doctor, lawyer, whatever, and right next door they may be living next to someone that designs web pages. I mean, is that common?
Yeah, absolutely. And the housing mixture. In any given block in the tower, you'll find single-family residential, you'll find a duplex, you'll find a fourplex, you'll find an apartment complex, you'll find a commercial structure. You know, unlike how modern planning became, where they started creating all the single-family residences over here and all the commercial over here, where you have to get in your car to go and visit the others, we're all intermixed. A mixed-use neighborhood is where the term comes from.
We're going to take a look at another picture in a little bit, but prices, when I go to the Tower District and I eat at a restaurant or have coffee at one of the coffee shops or tea houses, how do the prices compare to the rest of the community?
You know, I think they're probably comparable and likely a little bit on the lower side, and probably because our rents are probably a little bit less, so it takes down the overhead for a lot of the business owners.
So let's take a look at this picture now.
Okay.
And it's someone in that tall costume. What's going on over there?
One of our wonderful Mardi Gras parades.
Talk about Mardi Gras a little bit and what goes on in the Tower District during Mardi Gras. And the reason I want to talk about this is because Mardi Gras, for some reason, has this misconception that it's this dangerous, drug-infused, alcohol-infused party place where everyone just goes to get drunk and fight.
And you've got a few other pictures. You can see some of the big crowds here. It's a total family event. And people love to come out in droves because everybody on the floats are throwing beads out. And I think we had probably 10,000 people who attended our Mardi Gras parade last year.
Safety and Mardi Gras. When I was there, and I go regularly, I see a heavy police presence. Talk about that.
Well, it's kind of like you have to hire the police when you do a big event with 10,000 people. But the police and the Tower District have a very close partnership together. So we work closely. We meet together long before Mardi Gras, work out all the logistics. You know, really we want to make sure that all the floats and the vehicles are moving very slowly and that the police are there to make sure that no kids want to run out. It's scary stuff. You don't ever want a child hurt, by one of the floats or one of the vehicles. And so we meet far in advance and make sure that everything's going to be very, very safe and very well taken care of.
I don't think people realize that in the Tower District, you have young families with children.
Lots of them.
Talk a little bit about that aspect of it. I mean, if I'm living in the Tower District with my kids at night, is it okay for me to go to the local restaurant?
Sure, absolutely. And again, it's one of the great things about the neighborhood is that people do feel safe because it's a neighborhood in the truest sense of the form, in that everyone looks out for one another. Everyone is always keeping an eye on everyone else. So it's very much a family neighborhood. It's a singles neighborhood. It's a little bit of everything, and that's one of the great things about it.
We're going to see a picture in a little bit, but before we get there, I want to ask you just about the local restaurants in the Tower District and businesses. I mean, do you see a lot of chains, or are these mom and pop type of places?
We have a couple of chains. However, two of the chains are actually local chains. So, me and Ed's and Bobby Salazar's. And so again, they're welcome additions. You can't have a neighborhood that says, that's going to be standoffish about any possible chain that comes into the area. So we have a couple of chains as well. Again, it's part of the mix that takes place, but largely locally owned, locally operated. Also, I did a head count a couple of years back and just started thinking, I think probably the majority of our businesses are owned by women.
Interesting.
Isn't it interesting?
Interesting, very
and
interesting.
if not women, it's couples, and the women and the wives play a huge active role in the running of the business.
We'll talk about that after we take a look at this picture coming up now. So there's a group of people at this popular place. What's
Your
happening?
sister's favorite.
Yes, my sister's favorite.
Teaser World Tea Market, and actually that's an old shot because the 7-Up sign we just recently had repainted.
Interesting.
So just a kind of a little classic landmark in the neighborhood. Even though it's advertising for 7-Up, they had no interest in paying for the renovations, so we raised the funds ourselves and got the sign completely repainted and finished off. This event is the Taste and Toast of the Tower, which is one of our favorite events in the neighborhood. Always happens in early May. I think it's May 8th for 2014. And it's our food, product, and wine sampling. I tell people it's like trick-or-treating for big kids. We usually have about 50 sampling locations, over 15 local wineries.
50?
50.
So basically all over, the way I'm looking at this is all over you get food tasting.
And why it's the quintessential Tower event is because your ticket is a map of the entire area, and literally everyone who's serving samples, they're doing it right outside their front door. So if you come to the Tower and you hit 2 or 3 locations on a regular basis, we force you to go see another 47 of them.
I thought before this interview that I knew about the Tower and what was going on there, but obviously, I didn't know about this event.
Oh
and
my
the
gosh, and
50
it's the greatest
tasting
one.
things. But are there people like me out there? And second part of the question is, how do you encourage them to get involved?
Well, again, it used to be more of a struggle years and years ago. Fresno's we've become a very large city, and it's been a bit of a struggle, but basically we have lots of great people who've moved into the area from major metropolitan areas. Those folks are the ones who are not looking for the chain restaurants and the things that they can find in any city. They want to find that local area. I remember years and years ago, I had the vice president of one of the big corporations who moved here. And I said, let me guess, they told you never go south of Shaw. He goes, oh, they told me never go south of Herndon.
Oh, wow. So wait a minute. So now it's moved south of Herndon, actually.
And that was years ago. And he said, 6 months later, I discovered the Tower District and life began again.
Incredible.
Because again, it really is a nice flavor. My wife is another great example. She came from the Bay Area. She moved to Clovis because everyone said that's where you need to be. She said, I cried myself to sleep so many nights, and then we met, and I said, what are you doing here? You belong in the Tower. She moved to the Tower, being from the Bay Area, and she's like, oh my God, this is what I was looking for.
We're going to talk about another picture in a little bit, but I want to ask you about investors. Now, do we need investors to come into Tower and do anything, or do you rather not have them come in? And the reason I asked the question is we're seeing some investors do some beautiful work in downtown.
So you're talking about real estate investors?
Real estate investors or business investors?
Well, and there's not a lot of empty buildings as there are in downtown, and that's what you're seeing happen there. Although we are seeing a recent surge of some new business owners who have purchased property in the neighborhood. Art Dyson, world famous architect, in fact, didn't you just do a program with Jackie Ryle?
We did, yes we did.
Excuse me. So Art just bought the office building that the marketing committee is located in, and completely redid the downstairs and moved his offices in there and is redoing the entire building. So we have several people that are buying properties now. More so what I think we see is the Tower District, because we have lots of small spaces, it's kind of the hub for entrepreneurs. And small business people who want to try something out, if they only want 2,000 or 3,000 square feet where they don't have to pay a whole lot of money, the Tower District is a great place for them to come and try new businesses. So we get kind of the cutting edge new trials of businesses.
You know, it seems interesting. You would think that with all the activity, the walking distance, restaurants, and all the cool things that are happening there, that the Tower District would be the most expensive part in the town to live in. And I say that because I think of like LA, New York, Washington, D.C. The center of the activity is where the expensive places are. So in the Tower District,
It will be. Well, and it's evolution. Fresno has, I think, classically viewed itself as a small town. And I've often said it's kind of like being dragged kicking and screaming through puberty. Again, we're the 36th largest city in the nation.
No one thinks of it that way.
And that's the problem. And that's why the urban center is still underpriced, but it will evolve. It's just a matter of time when things really start to happen and the downtown is the hippest, coolest, frankly it already is, but when it's widely recognized, and then you will see prices go up.
Let's now take a look at the picture I promised to show 5 minutes ago.
Which is?
Let's take a look at it right now. What's going on over here?
That is the Tower District Classic Car Show, one of the biggest classic car shows in California, actually Western United States.
I was talking to you off camera about this car show, and you said that there's somewhere in the neighborhood of 500 cars.
We had nearly 500 cars last year.
Where do these cars park, and what goes on exactly at this car show?
Well, we just keep expanding and going further and further down Olive Avenue, and then we also occupy some of the side streets immediately adjacent to Olive as well.
So is there like a fee to enter, or what is the process? I mean, are there food stands outside?
Food stands is kind of a no-no in my neighborhood. I learned that lesson a long time ago from Old Town Clovis, which is, you don't bring in outside food vendors to a neighborhood where the restaurants are the ones who really have largely made the neighborhood successful. So we don't do outside food vendors at our events. We want to make sure that we're supporting our local restaurants and night spots. So, there's a few exceptions to the rule. The kettle corn guys come out. That's cool, because we don't have other kettle corn options in the neighborhood. But we try not to bring in outside vendors that are in direct competition with our local vendors. Again, they're the ones who have gone through blood, sweat, and tears to make the neighborhood successful. That's why people want to hold events in our neighborhood, is because of what these great business people have done. And I think it's important for us to honor those folks.
Everybody that comes on San Joaquin Spotlight gets a magic wand, and with that magic wand, they can make a wish. And in your case, for the Tower District. So you've got this magic wand. What is your wish for the Tower District?
The wish would be that more and more people in Fresno come down and check it out. The beauty of the Tower District is you come once and you're going to be hooked. Where else can you go and park your car? And literally, we are maybe, the primary walking district is 2 or 3 blocks wide and 2 blocks tall. So you can park your car once and experience the entire neighborhood. You know, nearly 24 restaurants without ever having to get back in your car again. All kinds of great, unique retailers, coffee shops, tea shops, great service offerings. So again, it's a beautiful thing. What I don't need the wand for is long-term growth, which will in fact take place because just incrementally we just keep growing a little bit further out to the east and west. Excuse me, as downtown continues to push north and we continue to push south, eventually the two will be joined and the downtown and Tower District are kind of sisters, so there'll be synergy there.
Is that a good thing or not? I mean, some people who are downtown advocates may say, stop it at the line before Tower District, and vice versa. Some people who are Tower District advocates may say, stop it at the line, we don't want to connect with downtown. Good or bad?
It's the urban core, the Tower District and downtown, both. There really is no difference. There is difference, obviously, blocks and blocks of high-rise structures, whereas we have all of our commercial structures on one street and then residential immediately behind. But the two work hand in hand and closely together. We're 4 minutes apart, so no. What is good for downtown will be good for the tower and vice versa.
How important is the involvement into the city affairs, or how important is like a city council in the work that you do in promoting the Tower District?
Well, it's very important, and we take a kind of a unique approach. In the Tower District, we're not one of these neighborhoods that says, hey, give, give, give. What are you going to do for me? I need this done, I need that done. We always are give and take. So if we need a project from the city, we'll say, okay, we need you guys to do this, but in return, we're willing to do this. Many of the typical city infrastructure items that you see in the Tower District were not put in by the city. You will see our custom Art Deco street signs. We had those locally developed and made and paid for, and the city installed them. The trash cans that happen on the city sidewalks, once again, we had them locally developed and designed and manufactured, and the city helped us to install them, and then our businesses empty those trash cans and take care of them. 32 new bike racks, once again, we took care of those ourselves.
So it's interesting. I want to stop you there and ask you, the trash cans that actually get filled up, because I've thrown trash in those trash cans. The businesses actually clean those out.
Yes.
See, I would think the city would do that.
But the city doesn't, again, the city has limited budget, even more so now because of the bad economic times, but we take care of our own, and we're always willing to do that. The city street trees, we had new street trees put in a few years ago. I trim them.
Interesting. Interesting.
Well, and again, when we need some help on other arborist types of things, the city's like, absolutely, we'll be there for you, because they know we do our part as well. You can't just be all about, come on, city, what's our government going to do for us? Guess what? Government is part of the people, so we're willing to do our part as well.
We're going to show another picture, and I want to ask you about that picture. But before we go there, when I used to work for the city, we ran into each other years ago. You're still very active. Why do you do it?
I love my neighborhood.
It's neighborhood pride for you.
Well, and frankly, if it wasn't for the tower, I don't even know that I'd be in Fresno. It really is a great feeling in our neighborhood.
So thank you to the tower, because you're here,
Well,
and you're a nice guy.
And thanks for the tower.
What's going on in this picture?
Oh, that's just one of our great night street shots. One of our projects that we did a long time ago was the cross street lights that you see up and down Olive Avenue. And in fact, I was noticing them on the way down here, and I noticed that I got to get a few repaired. We replaced them a few years ago with some LED lights. Great story. The lights were all burning out when we had the old incandescent bulbs, and we had one of our big community meetings. We do community meetings in the tower, and 150 people show up. It's really great. And it's always really wonderful because the citizens, just the residents, will stand up, and they're advocating for things that happen in the business community. Where else do you see that happen? We need a business directory, and we need this project to happen, and it's like, wow. And that's just the residents. So I had this young lady come up to me, and she said, what would it take to get those cross street lights, kind of upgraded and repaired? She said, my sister died a few years ago, and when I'm feeling sad and I come home on my way home from work, I look up and I think of her, and it's like she's looking down at me.
Interesting.
I said, it's a lot of money and it's a lot of work. She goes, I'll make it happen.
Wow.
I'm like, okay. So hooked her up with a couple other great tower folks, and they started a campaign and developed special T-shirts, and they raised about $7,500, and we redid all the cross street lights just because one of our local residents wanted to make it happen. And that's the epitome of the tower.
One of the things when I used to work at the city we would encounter on Saturday mornings is a group in the Tower District that would clean the sidewalk. You're nodding
Yeah.
because you know exactly where I'm going.
Gay's fourth Saturday morning cleanup.
Miss Gay Amend, Miss Gay Amend is a fascinating person, and she was out there every Saturday. Is that group still going on?
No, unfortunately, Gay decided to move, I think, back to the East Coast to be closer to family. But we just recently had a group of volunteers who wanted to start doing community service, so I kind of hooked them up with the guy who was kind of Gay's right-hand commander, and I think they've been trying to pick that thing back up again. But again, this is the nature of our neighborhood. People look around, they see a problem, they're like, okay, let's jump on. It's not, damn it, city, what are you going to do to make this happen? Can I say that?
You can't say that, it's okay.
But they're like, what can we do to make this happen? We need your assistance. And they do, in fact, enlist the support of the city, who give them some supplies and equipment and advice, and maybe bring the street sweepers out afterwards. But it's because the citizens are saying, we'll be the first line of defense. We'll get out, we'll do all the trash pickup, and then you guys support us. So again, it's the nature of our neighborhood.
The last picture that we want to show today, which I'm going to go to right now, is a cute picture. So we have to end it with this cute picture. So let's take a look at
Got to be Pooch Parade.
What is going on? I mean, it looks like to me, this looks like a black widow, but it looks like a dog.
It is.
And so what's going on here?
This is our Whitey's Pets Pooch Parade Canine Carnival and Costume Contest. I broke all the rules of marketing and gave it the longest name known to humankind.
And when is this, and how does it happen?
We started this, I think it was just our 7th year that we finished. I approached John from Whitey's Pets, who's a super cool guy and a great tower supporter and a drummer and plays in all kinds of bands in the neighborhood, and said, hey, here's what I'd like to do. Can you get some of your suppliers to jump on board and help? He was there without hesitation. So we do it in the Tower Theater parking lot. We set up dog-oriented vendor booths all around the perimeter of the theater parking lot. We get probably 1,500 to 2,000 people who come out. We have $2,000 worth of prize packages that we award 24 different prizes in 4 different categories. You get best dog costume, best dog owner costume combo, cutest dog, and best dog float. And there's 6 prizes awarded in every category. So it's one thing that people really, really look forward to.
Are you missing anything in the Tower District? I mean, is there like a supermarket or is there any kind of business that you think would bring value to an area like the Tower District?
We'd like to see more and more retail.
Retail.
And frankly, we are seeing more retail. And we've had a lot of really great local retailers who've opened up in the last couple of years. So that's been really a good plus. A lot of the residents would like to see a full-blown grocery store. The Tower Market kind of fills that gap for the time being.
And is that locally owned, the Tower Market?
I think he owns a few
Okay.
markets like that throughout the valley, the Central Valley. So yeah, I don't know for sure, to be honest with you.
And do you think it's only a matter of time, or do you think that it's?
It's hard to say, especially when you're talking about a grocery store. Now we're talking about a big national chain, and they operate based on statistics. So they're going to look at the income demographics, et cetera, and we're spotty. While we have plenty of high-income people and middle-income people, there's also plenty of low-income people. So they just, I don't know what their formulas are, but they always shoot for the highest income areas possible.
Which is interesting because there's a bank in the Tower District. So, I mean, and there's some fabulous restaurants and, some repair shops.
Lots of high-end things and lots of low-end things. Again, it's a good mix. So,
are you finding that when a house goes on the market in the Tower District, it gets sold pretty fast?
And as well as commercial property. One of our restaurant owners made the comment a couple years ago to the media and said, River Park, you see a store go vacant, and it may sit vacant for a year or two. In the Tower, if something, especially on Olive, goes vacant, there are 12 people standing in line who want to take it.
You're passionate about the Tower District. I could tell.
No,
you're excited. Yeah, not you. I could tell you're excited. You volunteer a lot. How many people like you are there in the Tower? Are there a lot?
Yes, and again, it's the nature of our neighborhood. Everybody's very fired up. And that can cause problems because everyone's very opinionated and very strongly.
People opinionated, you mean?
But as I've always said when we do our community meetings, it's like everyone in the Tower has a place at the table, and it's critical. It doesn't matter if I know that there are a half dozen people who all disagree with each other, or some have even deeper feelings about each other. It doesn't matter. Everyone has a place at the table because that's what makes a neighborhood. Everyone has to have their say. And
then do we see that there are community members in the Tower District that only shop the Tower? I mean, I know it's hard for you to answer that, but you kind of get a general idea. I mean, I know that there are people who only shop in certain spots or only eat at certain spots. Do you find that in the Tower District too?
You do. It's difficult because we don't have the full plethora of offerings. If I need lumber, I've got to go to Home Depot.
Yep.
You know?
Unless someone opens a Home Depot style
full-blown
place
right.
in the Tower
And
District.
we'd love to see more of that happening because guess what? There are plenty of people who have money and have the disposable income and would spend it. And it will come over time. So for the time being, you know, you have to go out of the area. But I'm one of those people, you know. I live in the neighborhood, I work in the neighborhood, I shop in the neighborhood, I play in the neighborhood.
And then let's talk about how people can get a hold of the marketing committee. Do you need volunteers for any projects? I mean, how can our audience members help you in your goal?
Well, we've got a pretty good solid core of key volunteer positions that are filled by local residents, and God bless them. They're so great. You know, if I need the bar run, I have Jason, my bar manager. I call him up. I say, okay, here's the event. He goes, don't worry about it. It's all taken care of. And I literally don't have to worry about it. It's taken care of. My private security guys, Jerry takes care of that. But always more than willing to hear from folks. And again, if they've got ideas, best way to reach us, you know, you can call the marketing committee at 559-497-8362. Always best through the website, which is towerdistrict.org. And we have a full business directory there as well. So if you need to find a business in the tower.
And I've seen that, and it's very impressive, by the way.
We just
I
finished
picked a restaurant off of there the other day.
We just finished that up last year. It's been a long-term project. It took forever to put it together, but I wanted to make it really functional and really nice and free. So everyone is listed for free.
We are out of time, Bill, this week on the program. Thank you for coming on San Joaquin Spotlight.
Well, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
That's all for this edition of San Joaquin Spotlight. To our audience members watching on CMAC or listening to us on KFSR, thank you. We couldn't do this program without the volunteer crew that brings you San Joaquin Spotlight each and every week. So our hats go off to them. They make this program happen. And we couldn't do it without our guests. This week, it's Mr. Bill Kuebler with the Tower District Marketing Committee. Bill, again, thank you for coming on the program and enlightening us.
Thanks, Sevag.
Watch us on YouTube. Follow us on our Twitter. Tune in next week to a new edition.